Hello, everybody. Philip Shadley here with my monthly real estate report. Let's dive right in and see what's happening in the real estate world. I want to make this short and sweet and share my screen really quick with you. So what we're going to talk about today, or is it? Here it is. The current 30-year fixed mortgage rates are around 5.7, and we have that here with my friend Mac Mortgage from Mac Mortgage Incorporated. The rates are 5.75 for 30-year fixed, so it's getting a little bit better. The policy the administration is trying to change, the proposal to ban institutional buyers could reshape ownership and affordability. I totally agree with that because I think that if you have corporations buying up these properties and then fixing them up and selling them at a higher price, it kind of takes away the opportunity from a first-time home buyer to get their hands on fairly reasonable amount of money to buy a property that needs TLC, that needs some fixing, some remodeling. So basically, they could get in cheaper, maybe, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000 cheaper, and then do the remodeling later. So the opportunity kind of goes away when institutions buy up all these properties and do it themselves and sell at a higher price. Interesting is a significant increase of delistings last year. This was interesting by Realtor.com. You can see that here. The listing surge as frustrated sellers pulled back. And I know, actually, I fall into that as well with my listing because we have a Brentwood listing we took off the market and now it's back on the market, which, by the way, is right over here. If you go to shadlerrealtor.com, you can see it. We sold this finally. This was a public commercial property, and then this is back on the market here. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condominium for $965,000. It does need some TLC. We just put in new floors, as you can see here. If you have any interest, let me know. Let's see what else we talk about. New listings continue to come in on the market on a steady pace, particularly on the west side and San Fernando Valley, but it's just there's not movement on the exit side. Now, in other words, it is filling up, inventory is climbing, but it's kind of like a bottleneck situation. And what this trend reflects with the delistings, rather than broadly pricing their homes to sell, many sellers are choosing to withdraw their properties from the market because demand is weaker than expected. Buyers are not willing to meet pricing expectations, and sellers prefer to wait rather than reduce their price. And, going back to Ken Show, actually, I have a German client that I'm looking for a property. And just yesterday, I talked to their realtors. But look at some of the listings they have. This one's, for example, 102 days on the market. Let's see, the next one is 108 days on the market. And the next one is 169 days on the market, as you can see here. So that is pretty significant, I would say. Now, another thing I discovered, as you probably remember, many of you remember the NAR lawsuit and the expectations by many that the lawsuit would bring or would creates that the sellers no longer pay the BAC, the buyer's agent compensation, right? This was the idea of what people had expected. But that's not the case from my experience, because yesterday, like I said, I looked at these properties here for my client. There's 5 properties. And all of them, except one with conditions, offering traditional BAC, buyer agent compensation, without a doubt, because I have one client particular that's has a tight budget, and she instructed me to only show her properties that where the seller pays my fee, right? So this does happen. In this particular case, though, I see this, especially in a time like this, I think it'd be foolish for the seller not to offer a BAC, a buyer agent compensation, because there is no movement or very little movement on the market. And if you don't, we had that happen with our listing, actually. And I love my seller, but she had not offered a BAC, and we lost 2 offers because of that. And since then, it's like real life experience, right? A shock for her. Since then, she is offering and going the traditional route with 2.5 on each side. And I think that's a wise way to go for any seller, at any time, because it's just a better way to go that way. Because otherwise, you don't have an incentive for the buyer agent to really show your property. And if they have to fight, yes, you do have to sign the BRBC. So every client who wants to look at a house before the real estate agent in California can show that house, has to sign a BRBC, a buyer representation broker compensation form, right? Which obligates the buyer to pay the buyer's agent compensation in case the seller doesn't pay it. But again, I run into it where the seller is just paying it more and more now because otherwise they're sitting. Because here's the thing. Let's say you're sitting on the market for 6 months. Is it worth it to save the commission of the agent? Because by now you may have incurred bigger expenses that are even by far surpassing the commission. So it's really a calculation thing. Let's see what else we had on that list. I think that was pretty much it. I'm gonna just make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, the real estate outlook for the market from some experts is, it's not really a huge increase. I would probably say 2% could be expected in 2026, maybe more, 3% increase in equity and market value. Hard to say though. If you have any real estate questions, please call me. My number is at the bottom of the screen, 310-918-2260. And in the meantime, I'll say thank you for your time to watch this. And if you have any real estate related questions, please let me know. And if there's any agents that have any comments about their experience, if the sellers are paying the BACs these days or not, I would greatly appreciate it if you comment that in the bottom, because I'm interested to find out what the facts are all the way across. Thank you so much. Until next time.